Welcome to the Finishing Touch podcast from Superfici America. I'm your host, Bret Johnson. Each episode, I sit down with experts in the automated finishing industry to talk coatings, try schedules, emerging trends, and practical tips. Whether you're an industry pro or just getting started as a new operator, this podcast has something for you. We're here to share insights, answer questions, and help you stay ahead in the world of automated finishing. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Finishing Touch podcast. I'm your host, Bret Johnson. We're coming to you today from the Superfici America lab here in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you're new to the show, we're glad to have you. This is where we explore the science, the craft, and the people behind the finishing industry. All right, so today's episode, we're going to talk about machine maintenance and parts and everything that you need to keep your machine up and running. So we got a very special guest with us today. We have Tommy Harris. He is our parts and customer service manager here at Superfici America. Tommy, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the finishing industry.
So I've been with Superfici coming up on 2 years. I have a background in industrial distribution and managing warehouse and parts departments. So it was a natural fit when I saw the job opening come up. I've always been interested in supply chain, how to get parts from a supplier and get them to a customer, and managing warehouse and parts, and it's just always been in my wheelhouse.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, you do a great job at it. I mean, you jumped right in, and everything is definitely, it was a seamless transition, but it's also, things have just improved so much since you've been here, and we've really hit the ground running. So
I appreciate it, and I couldn't do it without the team that was already here.
We've got a good group of people, that's for sure. So what does a typical day look like for parts and service manager here at Superfici?
So every day starts with a look at the previous day, a look at current day, and then what's the future going to look like. So I like to see what happened the previous day, what we quoted, what we sold, what was needed, what support things were needed from our customers. And then a current day, I like to see where our current inventory's at. I like to see what parts we need to purchase based on inventory levels and sales that have been processed, and then kind of always looking to the future. Are we on budget? Are we looking to an increase in our budget? Are we down? Are there things we need to adjust? So it's a constant looking back and looking forward, and then at the end of the day, the most important thing we do every single day is help every customer that either needs a part or has a problem or just wants to have a conversation. Sometimes we get those calls too.
Yeah, well, you're a good person to talk to. That's awesome, man. So tell me what's new in the parts department. Anything at all?
So since I have been here, we have increased our stock levels. It's up roughly about 30 to 35% of the stock level, which was already in a very good spot when I got here. The number of SKUs we are carrying in our inventory has almost doubled. We had a lot of inventory, but there's also been a lot of new machines that have come out and new parts that have come out since I've been here. We are focused on stocking all of those components that are critical to our customers to keep their machines running, as well as talking to our customers about stocking those parts. So it's a combination of both of those things. We are working through a new part numbering system. Corporate changed their part numbering sequence a few years back, and we're sort of catching up to that change. So we're kind of doing through a complete overhaul of our entire parts system. And so we're constantly updating that, updating inventory. When I came in, we didn't have a really strong, what I call a min-max or inventory level. So we implemented that immediately. And then we're always looking at massaging that or changing that based on current needs or future needs that we kind of see coming down the pike.
Perfect. Yeah, you mentioned the updated part number system. Believe it or not, I've heard that can actually affect the end customer. Believe it or not, how will that actually affect the end customer?
It definitely will affect them. So a machine that was built 5 years ago before this part number change will have all of the old part numbers or old reference numbers. So part of our job in this new part number system, or to overhaul this part number system, is to connect those two things. So we have to take that new number that the factory has told us this is what the part number is now, and I have to connect it to that old number so the customer knows when they get their invoice or their quote or their order that it is the part that they ordered that was in the manual, and not just some random part that they just got in.
Awesome, that's a great explanation. Do you have any goals for the the department or anything that you haven't already accomplished? I know you've done a lot of things already. But.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some sales-related goals. I like to see a little bit of growth. We had a huge growth the first year I was here. I don't think I'm going to see that again in the second year, but we have some lofty goals in the department to reach some pretty impressive numbers over the next 5 years. And to do that, we've got to have incremental growth every single year, which right now we're on track to do that. Okay. And then ultimately, the real goal of our department is to make sure we have every critical part that any customer could need that they've got in the field.
Yep. No, that's huge. Not having to wait for it to come from Italy, right? Having it here in Charlotte, ready to go to the customer. Another critical thing is them actually having spare parts that are critical on the shelf at their location. So what parts would you recommend are critical for the customers to keep on the shelf?
So what we typically recommend, we call them critical parts, or parts that will completely take the machine down. Right. Motors, electric motors and gearboxes are huge. Rollers, the main drive roller and the idler roller, that's huge to have. It's always a good idea to keep a spare belt in stock. Problems happen, accidents happen, and then just natural wear and tear. There are other mechanical components on the machine that are necessary as well. Chain and sprockets that are driving the actual belt, that are turning that roller, that's turning that belt. Huge to have those things on the shelf, as well as rollers. Some of our machines, instead of using a belt, they use rollers that run through the machine when you're using infrared or UV bulbs. Those rollers are critical. They get damaged by parts, by application, by a random forklift running into it. I've seen it all in 2 years. So that's sort of a good starting point. There's also some electrical components that are vital to the machine. We have electronic drives or inverters inside of our machines that are telling all of these different electric motors what to do and running those electric motors. If that goes down, the machine's going to go down. Sure. There's also some components with the spraying aspect of the machine. There are valves that are opening and closing to move that paint through the system. There's a pump that's moving that through the system. There's also hoses that are associated with these paint pumps and the application. Those are vital to keep on the shelf. And then the main reciprocator that's running back and forth that's spraying those parts, there's a few components. There's a motor and a gearbox that are vital for that. And then there's just some basic components of the guns themselves that are vital for the customer to have on the shelf. Cool. What we typically say, every conversation I have with a customer is, I might have it on the shelf, but I might have 10 customers that need that part. Right. And whoever calls me first gets it. So just me having stock isn't always going to take care of the customer in the field. Ideally, I like to kind of a combination of my stock and the customer's stock is what protects their machine from going down for any length of time.
Right. It'd be nice if you're just replenishing their stock as opposed to them being, beholden to us to get it to them.
That's exactly right. And the way I always phrase it to the customer, even if I have it, it's 1 day, absolutely minimum. So you being down a whole day, a lot of customers look at that, and it gets very expensive very quickly to be down a whole day. So that's typically the pitch on why you should stock the component at your location and then replenish from my inventory. But I am here to try and keep that inventory on the shelf, and I want to make it as easy for the customer to order the part, to stock the part, and to keep their machine running.
One thing I heard you mention was a safety device that customers should keep on. What exactly, how does that exactly cause a machine to be down?
So there are safety devices on the machine that prevent people from being harmed or to getting hurt by the machine. Basically, if you open a door, open up one of the panels on the machine, there are safety devices that will tell the machine to shut down at that point. Sure. If that safety device goes out, that would also stop the machine from running or cause you to do some unsafe things to get the machine to run.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to work around those safeties.
We don't want to work around the safeties.
Yeah. So why is it important for customers to keep parts on hand? If we can ship them out so quickly, next day, why is it actually important for them to keep them at all?
So there's multiple reasons why it's important for the customer to keep that inventory. Yes, I could have it on the shelf and I could ship it same day to get it there next day delivery. Shipping expenses are very, very high, so that's going to increase the cost of that part to get it to you. The other side of that is I might not have inventory. I could keep a dozen parts on my shelf, but if 4 customers come before you and each one of them wants 3 of those parts, I'm going to be out of inventory by the time you call me. So I always use it as my backups. My stock is your backup,
right,
not your stock that you're keeping your machine running with. Okay. Happy to help in those cases, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to have enough inventory for all of our customers that exist in the United States.
Right.
So overnight shipping can become incredibly expensive. Anybody in the shipping industry knows that. And then on top of that, sometimes we don't have the ability to ship at UPS because of the size of the parts or the components we're shipping.
Yes.
And that's going to require either a dedicated truck, an expedited truck, or we might even have to ship it LTL or full truckload in some scenarios. And that gets very, very expensive as well.
Yeah, sure. Can't always fit in a box, that's for sure.
That's right, that's right.
All right, so how can a business plan a smart parts inventory that can help reduce their downtime?
The best thing to do is to take our spare parts quote that we give typically right around the time that the machine is being planned to be installed. I will typically get that quote from the factory anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before the machine's going to be installed. At that point, that's the time to scour over that and decide what parts you want to stock. We recommend the entire list. The factory recommends the entire list, and it's based on basically 2 different components. Is it a wear component, or is it a component that's going to stop the machine from running? Right. And then underneath that, there's another couple of layers of, is it typically a stock item or is it typically a non-stock item? So at minimum, I tell the customers if it's a wear part or a part that's going to take the machine down and we don't typically stock it, keep it on your shelf. Even if I stock it, I still recommend keeping it on the customer's shelf. But the most important thing for that customer to do is to keep that inventory in their location to prevent any downtime. It turns into we have a problem, maintenance can grab the part from the tool crib and then install it and fix the machine and have the machine up running in an hour as opposed to a day.
Right, and I've found too, the customers that are, number one, going to go to the lengths of actually having all those parts on their shelves, they also typically have that maintenance department that tends to kind of own the process. They have pride in the machine. They take pride in fixing the machine. They know it inside and out. And I feel like that's critical too, having somebody on site that's not afraid to get into it and work on it. So,
absolutely.
I think one of the things is a lot of these parts are fairly common, right? People think, gear's a gear, a roller's a roller. And they'll try to source aftermarket parts. But why is it important that they buy their parts directly from us?
When you're buying directly from us, you're getting certified OEM parts directly from our factory as they install them on the machine. The same people that purchase the parts to make the machines are the same people that purchase the parts to send me inventory to our location. So you're getting the exact same parts that the machines are built with. You know they're going to be right every single time. There are some industrial components on the machine that you may be able to go out and source it, but in my experience, it's a negligible gain to save a few dollars on an item and not knowing 100% that it's the correct part. And it could cause failures in other parts of the machine. You might have saved $10 here, but you might have caused a $100 problem. And it kind of makes no sense to do that. So it makes it easier for the customers. I always say we're a one-stop shop. Anything you need on that machine, we can make sure you're getting the right part in a quick manner.
Sure. Any bad examples of people not using OEM parts? And
one example that I had recently, the reciprocator that's actually running back and forth and painting the parts has a linear bearing. It's actually 2 linear bearings that are taking the brunt of that load of that arm running back and forth. And I had a customer source a part from, I don't know if it was eBay or Amazon or wherever they found the part, but it was the wrong bearing and ended up damaging the rail. As opposed to, you think of a bearing that's a couple $100, the rail's a couple $1,000, so you saved a couple $100, or you might have found something quick, but you ended up causing more damage on your machine because you weren't using the correct part.
Right, people don't think about that. That's a good example, okay. So you've been out in the field recently a good bit, visiting customers. Any weird things you've seen or anything you want to advise folks to not do? Or
yeah, we had one recently. It was an application where a customer was getting product into their exhaust ducts, which we have filters through our exhaust system. That shouldn't happen. And when we went on site, we realized that the customer was using the wrong size filters and the wrong type of filters. And when I asked the customer why they had made that change, he didn't really know. So it was just basically a scenario of somebody just getting the job done, moving on, and continuing on. But this change in filters is ultimately going to cost the customer tens of thousands of dollars in replacement of ducting and replacement of trolleys and a recovery unit that's underneath the machine because it's being covered with the product, because the exhaust filters aren't properly catching that product that's coming off of the gun.
Right, and that person meant well, and they were just trying to save a few bucks for their company,
and again, he might
not knowing that it would ever cause a problem.
100%, and there might not even have been a cost savings. It might have been, I don't have any filters, and they found a filter, and they threw it in. That happens too. I typically tell customers, don't go away from the factory recommended parts or factory recommended specs unless you talk to us first. There are some applications that we have to change things slightly for customers in their machines, but I would never do it without getting advice from at least our technical team first.
Fair enough, yeah.
Another odd one I saw, typically on the gun arm, we use a nylon denier type of style sock, almost like a pantyhose to keep paint and product off of the gun. And a customer had been using duct tape for whatever reason. And when he went to go take the duct tape off, he couldn't get it off anymore. No. He'd left it on too long, and it had gotten too much product on it, and now that duct tape was a permanent part of the machine. Yes, so it was a struggle for him for sure.
Goodness.
So they had to replace an entire arm. Again, a few $100 savings for $1,000 mistake. It happens more often than you'd think.
That was a one-time mistake, I would imagine. Goodness. So how often do you recommend that customers service or replace parts on the machines?
So there are so many variables in that. The number one thing, our machines all have recommended time frames to make changes, to PM the machine, to check oil on the sprockets and chain. Follow those recommendations. If the machine is telling you to check something, check it. Don't just clear that fault. I see that happen a lot. But the most important thing is to have a discussion with our technical team on runtime. I have one customer that runs 3 shifts, 8 hours a day, and then you have another customer that runs 2 shifts a week. Those customers need to change their filters or change their chain or change motors and gearboxes a lot differently. It's a totally different scenario. So the most important thing is to be in communication with whether it's our sales team, the technical team, or just us in the parts department. How often are you running? How long are you running these parts? And then we can help format an actual schedule on when those parts needs to be replaced or when those filters need to be replaced.
Okay. Are there any strange parts that people don't think about needing to replace?
The first one that comes to mind, our electrical cabinets have a filter on them. And what it does, that electrical cabinet is constantly pulling in air to cool itself. It's electronics create heat when you're using them. Those filters get clogged up with dust, debris. You're sanding and cutting parts in the same facility that our machine might be in. That's going to be in the air, and those particles get caught up in the filter inside of that. Most people never change it. What we typically see happen is we have some type of fault inside of the cabinet, or something fails, and that's when the customer finally realizes that there's a small little filter that needs to be changed on that electrical cabinet. I recommend doing that once every 6 months. It's not a big expense, it's not a big thing until it becomes a big problem.
Right, something nobody thinks about until it's caused an issue. So yeah, it's something I don't think about in here either.
And any filter on our machine, not just the filter on the electrical cabinet, but the filters on our machines, some of them aren't visible to the eye by just looking at it. So you've got to have somebody that's, again, taking accountability for the machine, like you mentioned earlier, and then regularly checking and then changing on a certain standard schedule.
Exactly.
So from your perspective, you run our lab, you run these tests for our customers. What are things that you recommend to customers or that you could recommend to us as a parts department that we should keep on the shelf or recommend to our customers to keep on the shelf?
Yeah, I think people have a lot of questions about paper and how do we change the paper? How long does it take to change the paper? This is the paper on our conveyor belt, so our flatline reciprocators, obviously. But one thing I would recommend that the customer have on stock is empty paper cores for the take-up roll. You know, you can, depending on which manufacturer you get it from or which size you get it from, they come different sizes, right? Some, you know, sometimes you need to change it 2 to 1, like change the front 2 times the back every once, or vice versa, depending on how big it is. But having some empty cores there is huge, right? It keeps the customer from, God forbid, having to cut it off with a razor blade or anything like that. So it's just something that helps out.
You can have one ready to go, so your change out becomes minutes instead of hours.
Right. You can be doing that proactively while you're running, and then when you downtime is minimized. Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So you also manage the support team. So is there anything new on that side that customers should be aware of?
Well, we are, I wouldn't say we're testing it, we're full into it now, but we're using a ticketing system like a lot of help desks or call centers use. The point of that ticketing system is to reduce the amount of time it takes us to get back to the customer, reduce downtime to the customer, and give a seamless way to communicate with our team and with our team to communicate back to the customer. The other nice thing about it is it's visible for our entire team. So I can have one technician start with a problem, something happens, they get pulled away to something else, and I or another technician can jump right in, right where they left off, and they've got an itemized view of exactly what's been done, exactly what's been talked about, and all the problems and or solutions that have been offered. So it's a visible, easy way for us to see what problems we're having and then how to quickly solve them for the customers.
There's nothing worse than having to explain your problem multiple times to multiple people because they don't understand what's going on. So that's huge. It really is.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Are there any specific goals for that side of the department?
I mean, ultimately, 0% downtime. That's always our goal, is to have no customer left out in the cold or not being able to run their machine. It's ultimately probably an impossible goal, but it's the same thing like anything else. If you don't set a goal or attempt to try something, you'll never reach anything close to it.
If you don't try, you'll fail 100% of the time.
That's right. So zero downtime is our goal with the support team.
So what can the customer do to be proactive to minimize their downtime?
The most important thing is having a person that is accountable to that machine. A lot of times we call it an operator. Sometimes it's a team of maintenance guys, but staying on top of regularly changing the filters, regularly checking wear parts on the machine, and then taking that flag or that notification that the machine is going to tell you this needs to be checked, following those to a T. Setting up a PM schedule is always a very good idea. We've got some customers that PM the machines more often than we recommend. You can't PM a machine or do maintenance on a machine too much.
Absolutely, I agree.
One of the most important things that we deal with is training on the machine. The technician is going to train them initially when he installs the machine. He's going to hopefully train the operator and any other guys that are going to be running the machine. But what we run into a lot is either people leave the facility and are no longer working there. I was at a facility recently and they said everybody that was here when this was installed is no longer here. So they want us to come back in and do another training. So being able to troubleshoot basic problems with the machine is huge. Usually maintenance teams, it takes them a little time, but once they get into it, they realize it's like a lot of other machines they've dealt with. Being able to reach out and find our support videos on our website can be huge for customers. That's another big one. And then I would say revisiting that training every so often is a good idea, especially for your main operators and guys that are running the machine. I even saw recently there's a team of guys, or one of our customers is coming in. Do you know what's going on with that? Yeah,
one of the services we offer in the lab is additional training, right? So this customer bought a machine similar to what you said, right? They've had it for a year or so, I would say. Had some people leave. Turnover's huge. I mean, the reason we're in business is because labor's hard to find, right? So it's retraining those new people is huge. So this customer is going to come down. They're bringing 3 of their folks. And we're going to spend a day running their product on their substrates and diving into how they can just how to run the machine, but also how they can maybe optimize their application and just learn a little bit more about it. So that is one of the things we offer after the sale, is the customer to come back in and do additional training here in the lab. So
it's a good idea.
All right, I heard you're working on a service contract. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, we're sort of in the rough stages of it. We don't have a final product yet, but the main idea is to have our technicians visit these customers 2 times during the year. That's going to be the start of the service contract, is a 2 technician visit per year. With that service contract, we're going to be offering discount on parts, discount and priority on other services. Let's say you're one of our customers that's under a service contract and you had a machine down scenario, you're going to get priority over other customers. And then ultimately, we're going to offer rebates through this program as well that the customers can use on future purchases. So nice. We're looking at an opportunity to keep the machines running properly, keep our customers trained properly, and then also offer them a discount by allowing us to maintain and keep the machines working properly.
Perfect. Any idea when this will be up and running?
Our goal is to be able to start offering this in 2026.
Perfect. Okay, Tommy, so what is the process for contacting customer support?
So the quickest and easiest way is to contact Jacob directly. A lot of people have his cell phone number. If you don't have his cell phone number, you can always call our main number and ask for Jacob, and you'll get transferred over to him. On top of that, you can also email support@superficiamerica.com. Or if you're on our website, there's a quick link right on the website to click a button and it takes you to a form to fill out. That also creates that support ticket.
Perfect. So there's a multitude of ways to do it. So, internet or just call Jacob. That seems to be the, most foolproof method.
Yep.
All right, Tommy. So we've come to the end. Do you have any final thoughts?
So I try to lead this way, and I try to remember this in my work, in my personal life. But the reason we're here is because of our customers. So all of our focus, all of our intention is to make the customer's experience easy. And then once we leave, they give them the tools and training to make these machines work properly. So I'm always focused on that. I want to make sure their machines are running properly and they have the parts they need. And anything we can do to make that process easier is a win in my book.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, your knowledge is one thing, but you genuinely care about the customer. That's what comes across more than anything. And it really does make a difference. I've seen it make a difference since you've been here, man. So not just you, but everybody on your team, Jacob, Dylan. So, it really does make a difference. So, all right, that wraps up this episode of the Finishing Touch podcast. As always, thanks for watching. We really appreciate you tuning in. So if you've got questions or topic ideas or anything you'd like to see us cover on a future episode, please reach out and just let us know. If you want to learn more about automated finishing, you can go to our website at superficiamerica.com. You can also contact any of your local area sales representatives. We hope you'll join us next time for the next episode of the Finishing Touch podcast, helping you finish better.